I'm Allie, and today on Plotopsy, we're diving into the monster hunting and compulsive lying of the night shift with author Daphne A. Vermeer. Thank you, Daphne, for being here with us today, and let's go ahead and get started. So, what came to you first, Anthony and Manu, or the monster hunting premise?
I came up with this story because I always thought that urban fantasy had such an interesting idea of what if magic was in the common world, our normal everyday world, but then often betrays this premise by not actually showing normal, ordinary people as their protagonists. The protagonists are either already special, they are half magical creatures, or they are mages or wizards, or they become special soon after discovering the supernatural world. I wanted to have protagonists who were really just ordinary people. So I guess you could say that the monster hunting premise technically came first. It's just that it would never have worked if it wasn't for Anthony and Manu, two extremely ordinary guys.
I love ordinary protagonists because then I sit there thinking, like, what would I do in that situation? But how do two people this broken end up responsible for saving others?
Anthony and Manu were unfortunately present when the last monster hunter of Namur died, and they made a promise to a dying man that they would carry on his work. That is how, if you have even a shred of conscience, you get stuck with a dangerous, unpaid job that no one else can take from you.
If you're in a fantasy book, you should never make a promise to a dying man. Now, Antony is described as downwardly mobile. How does that affect his worldview?
Anthony is in a situation that I think is recognizable for a lot of millennials and Gen Zers, in that he was on a path to go to university, to get a degree, to get a decent middle-class job, get a house, etc., etc. And at 19, he made the decision to drop out of university following a disastrous first year. And that decision is still haunting him now in his early 20s, with potentially no way out of the downward spiral of retail job after retail job that he finds himself in. What this means for Anthony is that he is failing at life as he understands it. He has a picture of what a good life should be and a picture of what a good man should be. And part of that is to have that degree, to have that good job, and to be economically successful, and he is just clearly not. This means that for him, monster hunting is one of the few outlets that he has where he is not just tolerated, he's not just managing, but his particular skill set is actually tremendously useful for what he is doing. It just has the minor downside that it is physically very dangerous and he can't tell anyone about it, and it is useless on his CV.
That's definitely something a lot of us can relate to. Now, with Manu, a lot of his anxiety and compulsive lying feel like it's rooted in something deeper. Now, how does that relate to his relationship with his mother, and what do you want readers to understand about that dynamic?
Regarding Manu and his anxiety and lying, Manu is a very interesting character in that, on the surface level, he seems much more gentle and kind than Anthony. However, it soon becomes clear that he actually lies almost compulsively. He doesn't just lie about their monster hunting activities, which makes sense. He lies in situations where telling the truth was acceptable. And this very much comes from the way he was raised. He was raised by his mother on her own after his father died when he was young. And his mother was the type of person who definitely did not reward the truth. You know the way some parents will say, "Oh, if you tell me the truth, I won't be angry." She definitely said that and then got angry anyway. So Manu has learned that there is no reward for being truthful, and the best thing to do is just tell other people what they want to hear and make it go away. And he's not even really aware that he is doing this, I think. Lying is like breathing to him, and this very much complicates what on the surface seems a very gentle man.
One thing that seems to be a theme in this book is that doing the right thing always makes things worse. Why is that?
There is no great cosmic justice. Doing the right thing normally carries rewards in the form of social recognition. But if the thing that you are doing is inherently secret, then all you get is the hard work for having done it and nothing to show for it because you can't tell anyone. Therefore, being a good monster hunter interferes with your job, it interferes with your social life, it interferes with your health, and all you get back is the warm and fuzzy feeling that you did the right thing.
That's a really accurate reflection of life, too. Now, the book has a dry humor tone. How do you maintain humor without undercutting the tension?
Humor is not something that you can impose as a writer. Humor is something that comes from the characters and the situation. In that way, I think it's almost difficult to undercut tension with humor because the humor and the tension are the same thing. You use the humor to occasionally let a little bit of air out of the balloon so that you can keep inflating it for longer. I think the worst thing you can do is to think, oh, this should be funnier. Because if you think this should be funnier, you're going to try and add a joke, which means it didn't come from the characters, which means it's going to deflate the situation because people can sense that you added humor instead of letting humor organically come from the characters. As for how to let humor come organically from characters, you have to understand the distance between where your character wants to be and where your character really is, because that is where the humor is, whether that is physically or psychologically or in their relationship with other people, their expectation of how they wanted things to go versus what actually happened, that is where the humor is.
I'm so impressed by authors that write comedy like you because it's definitely not something that can be forced. Now, what's the most chaotic moment that readers don't see coming?
There is quite a bit of chaos in the latter half of the book, and I think that what most people don't see coming is just how difficult and drawn out the final confrontation is. It is putting our main characters out of their comfort zone, out of their league, and they scrape by the skin of their teeth.
And finally, I would like to know what's something emotionally you hope readers take away from Anthony and Manu's journey?
I hope that readers will take away the journey from trauma bonded coworkers to friends that this book shows. By the start of the book, they have already been working together for 5 years, but they have nevertheless managed to stay in a somewhat chilly interpersonal relationship. And it's really the events of this book which are pushing them beyond their previous limits, that are forcing them to realize just how close they are and how much they rely on each other. And so by the end of the book, I hope that the reader is convinced that they have traveled this journey from trauma-bonded coworkers to friends who would die for each other, but in a low-key professional sort of way.
Thank you so much to Daphne for being here with us today. It's been a really fascinating conversation. And to you guys, don't forget to go check out The Night Shift, which I'll have linked in the comments below. And join me next time, either Tuesday or Saturday, whatever happens, for another Plotopsy.